The Architecture of Deep Rest. Overcoming the Island Paradox. Part 1. Introduction. Why the island failed. You experienced a classic psychological phenomenon, context-independent anxiety. We often believe relaxation is environmental, that if we move our body to a beach, our mind will follow. This is false. Relaxation is a biological skill, not a geographic location. When you are high-functioning or stressed, your baseline state is sympathetic dominance, fight or flight. When you suddenly stop working and go to an island, you remove the distractions of work, but you do not remove the tension. Without the noise of the office to drown it out, the random things in mind become louder. You cannot relax because your nervous system perceives stillness as danger. Below are the first 30 high-value points, categorized by nervous system regulation, cognitive unhooking, and the decompression transition. Phase 1. Nervous system regulation, the hardware. You cannot think your way into relaxation. You must physiologically downregulate your body first. 1. The safety signal protocol. Your brain kept thinking random things because it was scanning for threats. You must manually signal safety to the amygdala. Action. Practice the physiological sigh, discovered by Stanford neurobiologists. Inhale deeply through the nose, then take a second, shorter inhale on top of it to fully inflate the alveoli. Exhale slowly through the mouth. Why it works? This offloads carbon dioxide efficiently and mechanically engages the parasympathetic nervous system better than any other breath pattern. Do this 10 times immediately when the racing thoughts begin. 2. Vagus nerve stimulation, the off switch. The vagus nerve connects your brain to your gut and heart. If this nerve has low tone, you cannot relax physically. Action. Use cold exposure specifically on the sternum or face. Splash freezing water on your face for 30 seconds. Mechanism. This triggers the mammalian dive reflex, instantly lowering heart rate and forcing a reset of the nervous system. It snaps the brain out of a ruminative loop. 3. Panoramic vision defocusing. When you are stressed or focused on random thoughts, your vision naturally narrows, focal vision. This is a stress response. Action. Soften your gaze. Look at the horizon and try to see the far left and far right of your peripheral vision simultaneously without moving your eyes. Why it works? Peripheral vision is linked to the parasympathetic system. You cannot be in a high-stress state while maintaining panoramic vision. This is a biological hack to force relaxation. 4. Progressive muscle relaxation, PMR, 2. 0. You likely carry microtension you aren't aware of. You cannot relax a mind if the jaw is tight. Action. Do not just try to relax. Tense every muscle in your body, toes, legs, stomach, fists, face, as hard as you possibly can for 5 seconds. Then, release instantly. Why it works? The brain registers the contrast between extreme tension and release, allowing it to drop into a deeper state of relaxation than if you just tried to let go. 5. The 4-7-8 hypoxic regulation. Action. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 7 seconds. Exhale for 8 seconds. Why it works? The long hold allows O2 to saturate the blood, but the 8-second exhale stimulates the vagus nerve. The focus on counting interrupts the default mode network, DMN, the part of the brain responsible for the random wandering thoughts you experienced. 6. Grounding, earthing for cortisol regulation. Action. Place bare feet on grass, sand, or dirt for 20 minutes. Why it works? While often sounded like woo-woo, contact with the earth changes the electrical potential of the body and has been shown to normalize cortisol secretion profiles. On an island, this should be your first step, but you must do it consciously, not just incidentally. 7. The hips and jaw connection. Action. If your mind is racing, check your jaw. It is likely clenched. If your jaw is clenched, your hips are likely tight. Why it works? Biologically, the jaw and pelvic floor are connected via the fascial deep front line. Consciously dropping your jaw, creating space between teeth, often automatically releases hip tension, signaling to the body that the threat is gone. 8. Eliminate blue light toxicity before sleep. Action. If you are on an island but scrolling your phone at night, you are destroying your melatonin. Why it works? Blue light mimics noon sunlight. If you view this at 10 p.m., your cortisol spikes, waking you up, and melatonin crashes. This creates a tired but wired state, where the body is exhausted but the mind races. 9. The 90-minute ultradian rhythm. Action. Stop trying to relax for 12 hours straight. Relax in 90-minute blocks. Why it works? The brain operates on 90-minute activity cycles, ultradian rhythms. After 90 minutes of activity, even leisure activity, the brain needs a 20-minute reset. Respecting this cycle prevents relaxation fatigue. 10. Non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, or Yoga Nidra. Action. Lie down and listen to a 20-minute Yoga Nidra script, available on YouTube. Why it works? This is not meditation, it is a directed shutdown of the sensory systems. It mimics the delta wave brain state of deep sleep while you are awake. 20 minutes of NSDR is equivalent to 3 hours of sleep for nervous system restoration. Phase 2. Cognitive unhooking, the software. Addressing the random things in mind. Your brain was looping because it lacked a system to capture and dismiss thoughts. 11. The brain dump protocol. You cannot relax if your brain is afraid it will forget something. The random things are your brain trying to hold onto open loops. Action. Keep a physical notebook. When a thought comes, I need to email X, I forgot to buy Y. Write it down immediately. Then tell yourself, it is written. It is safe. Why it works? This closes the Zeigarnik effect, the psychological tendency to remember uncompleted tasks. Once written, the brain grants permission to let go. 12. Worry scheduling. Action. Designate 20 minutes a day. Example. 4:00 p.m. to 4:20 p.m. as worry time. If a random thought pops up at 10 a.m., say, not now. I will worry about this at 4:00 p.m. Why it works? It validates the worry so you don't fight it but compartmentalizes it. When 4:00 p.m. comes, you usually find the worries have lost their urgency. 13. Cognitive diffusion, the cloud technique. Action. Instead of saying, I am stressed, say I am having the thought that I am stressed. Why it works? This is an ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, technique. It creates distance between the thinker and the thought. You are the sky, the random thoughts are just clouds passing through. You do not grab the clouds. 14. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory anchor. When your mind travels to the past or future, random thoughts, force it into the present. Action. Identify 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. Why it works? This overloads the sensory processing centers of the brain, forcing the narrative centers, the inner voice, to shut up temporarily to process the incoming data. 15. Transient hypofrontality, flow state. Relaxation doesn't always mean lying still. Sometimes the mind quiets only when the body is busy. Action. Engage in an activity that requires just enough focus to stop the mind wandering, but not enough to cause stress. Example. Surfing. Complex hiking. Painting. Why it works? This deactivates the prefrontal cortex, the inner critic. This is why active relaxation often works better for high performers than sitting on a beach chair. 16. Eliminate decision fatigue. Action. On vacation, automate your choices. Eat at the same place, wear the same clothes, wake up at the same time. Why it works? Every decision, even what should I order, consumes neural glucose. If you are making 50 micro decisions a day on vacation, you remain in executive function mode. Boredom is the friend of relaxation. 17. The no input rule. Action. Spend the first hour of the morning with 0 external input. No phone, no news, no podcasts, no books. Why it works? If you consume content immediately upon waking, you put your brain in reactive mode. Random things stick to a reactive mind. A proactive mind, established in silence, repels them. 18. Mantra repetition, cognitive blocking. Action. Choose a meaningless word. Example. Saham, or a simple phrase, peace. Repeat it silently when thoughts intrude. Why it works? The phonological loop in the brain has limited bandwidth. If you fill it with a mantra, there is literally no space for the random thought to exist verbally in your mind. 19. Reality testing the urgency. Action. When a stressful thought arises, ask, is this a tiger? i.e., immediate physical danger. Why it works? Most random things are social threats or future predictions. Labeling them as non-tigers downgrades the adrenal response. 20. The third-person perspective. Action. Visualize yourself sitting on the island from the perspective of a drone flying above. See your small body on the vast sand. Why it works? Self-distancing reduces the emotional intensity of internal chatter. It makes your problems feel physically smaller, which tricks the brain into relaxing its grip on them. Phase 3. The decompression transition, the process. You cannot go from 100 miles per hour to 0 miles per hour instantly. The random things occurred because you slammed the brakes too hard. 21. The 72-hour rule. Concept. It takes minimum 3 days, 72 hours, for the neurochemistry of work, cortisol, or adrenaline to wash out of the system. Application. Do not expect to relax on day 1 or day 2 of a vacation. Accept that the first few days will feel agitated. This is not a failure, it is withdrawal. 22. Active decompression versus passive decompression. Action. Do not sit on a beach chair on day 1. Go for a run, swim hard, or hike. Why it works? Your body is full of mobilized energy. If you sit still, that energy turns into anxiety. You must burn off the residual stress hormones through kinetic movement before you can enjoy stillness. 23. The wind-down buffer zone. Action. Create a ritual that marks the end of work mode and the start of rest mode. This could be a specific shower, changing into specific vacation-only clothes, or locking your laptop in a safe. Why it works? The brain relies on environmental cues to switch states. If you wear your work watch or check your work email on the island, the brain never receives the all-clear signal. 24. Digital detox triage. Action. If you cannot go 100% offline, delete the apps that trigger dopamine loops, social media, news, and keep only utilities, maps, Uber. Why it works. The random things are often triggered by microdoses of information from your phone. Even seeing a notification badge triggers a cortisol microspike. 25. Curate your input environment. Action. If you read on vacation, read fiction, not nonfiction or self-improvement. Why it works? Self-improvement books keep you in fix-it mode. Fiction engages the imagination and empathy centers, moving you away from the analytical or problem-solving networks that cause rumination. 26. Expectation management, the happiness equation. Action. Lower your expectation of feeling relaxed. Why it works? By demanding that you must feel relaxed, you create meta-anxiety, anxiety about not being anxious. Give yourself permission to feel restless. Ironically, accepting the restlessness makes it vanish faster. 27. Solitude versus isolation. Action. Ensure you are not just isolating yourself with your thoughts. Connect with nature or a partner. Why it works? Isolation amplifies the echo chamber of the mind. Connection, even watching a crab on the beach, externalizes attention. 28. The do-nothing practice, Nixon. Action. Practice sitting for 5 minutes without a phone, book, or agenda. Just stare out a window. Why it works? We have lost the tolerance for boredom. Boredom is the gateway to deep relaxation. You must pass through the discomfort of boredom to get to the peace on the other side. 29. Metabolic support for relaxation. Action. Avoid high-sugar cocktails and heavy carbs during the day. Why it works? Blood sugar crashes trigger adrenaline release to mobilize glucose. If your blood sugar is a roller coaster, your mind will be too. Stick to protein and fats during the day to keep the mental floor stable. 30. The tomorrow list, pre-sleep. Action. Before bed on vacation, write down the 3 things you want to do tomorrow, even if it's just swim and eat tacos. Why it works. Structure provides safety. A completely void schedule can induce anxiety in high performers. The vacation paradox. A loose structure gives the brain a scaffold to rest upon. End of Part 1. Summary of Part 1. We have covered the biological hardware, nervous system, and the cognitive software, mental reframing. You failed to relax on the island because your biology was still in survival mode, and you lacked the tools to signal safety to your brain. Coming up in Part 2, points 31 to 60. Environmental architecture, how to design your space for automatic relaxation. The philosophy of leisure, changing your relationship with time. Advanced recovery protocols, thermal cycling, supplements, and long-term vagal tone improvement. Would you like me to proceed with Part 2, points 31 to 60? This is Part 2 of 2, continuing our deep dive into the mechanics of relaxation. In Part 1, we addressed the immediate physiological and cognitive barriers that followed you to the island. Now, we move to the external environment, the deeper philosophical blocks, why high achievers feel guilty relaxing, and advanced biohacking protocols to force the body into a restorative state. The architecture of deep rest, overcoming the island paradox, Part 2. Phase 4, environmental architecture, the external nervous system. Your environment dictates your biology. If your surroundings signal alert, your mind cannot signal rest. You likely didn't relax on the island because the environment wasn't actually optimized for your specific nervous system type. 31. The soundscape of silence versus brown noise. The problem, true silence on an island can actually amplify tinnitus or internal mental chatter for high performers. The brain scans the silence for danger. Action, do not seek total silence. Use brown noise, lower frequency than white noise, resembling heavy rain or a waterfall, or green noise, nature frequencies. Mechanism. Stochastic resonance. A consistent, low-frequency background hum occupies the auditory processing center, just enough to prevent it from scanning for threats, sharp noises, allowing the prefrontal cortex to finally disengage. 32. The temperature-sleep paradox. The problem. Most island destinations are hot. High ambient temperature prevents the core body temperature drop required for deep restorative sleep, REM, or deep cycles. Action. You must aggressively cool your sleeping environment to 65-67 F, 18-19 C. If no AC, take a warm shower before bed. Mechanism. The warm shower causes vasodilation, blood vessels expand, which dumps heat from the core to the skin, lowering internal temperature. This thermal dump is the biological trigger for melatonin release. You cannot relax if your core is hot. 33. Fractal visuals, the nature effect. The problem, urban environments are full of straight lines and sharp angles, buildings, screens. These require high cognitive load to process. Action. Stare at clouds, ocean waves, or tree leaves for 20 minutes. Mechanism. These are fractals repeating patterns at different scales. The human visual cortex evolved to process fractals with near-zero energy. Viewing fractals induces an alpha wave state, relaxation, within 60 seconds. This is why the ocean view matters not for luxury, but for optical processing relief. 34. Chrono lighting, the sunset simulation. The problem, hotel or Airbnb lighting is often harsh, overhead LED. This signals noon, alertness to the brain at 9 p.m. Action. Never use overhead lights after sunset. Use lamps at eye level or below, floor lamps. Ideally, use red or amber hues. Mechanism. Melanopsin cells in the lower retina are highly sensitive to overhead light. Light coming from above suppresses melatonin. Light from below, like a campfire, does not. Mimicking this ancestral light angle signals the brain that the hunting day is over. 35. The clean surface rule. The problem, visual clutter creates a low-grade background anxiety. Seeing your suitcase exploded on the floor signals unfinished tasks. Action. Unpack immediately. Hide the suitcase. Keep horizontal surfaces, tables, nightstands, completely clear of debris. Mechanism. The brain constantly maps the environment. Every object is a processing node. Fewer objects equals less processing equals more neural bandwidth for relaxation. 36. CO2, tolerance, and air quality. The problem, stale air in a hotel room creates high CO2 levels, which induces subtle panic or anxiety or suffocation responses during sleep. Action. Keep a window cracked open if possible, or ensure high ventilation. Mechanism. Even a slight rise in CO2, hypercapnia, triggers the amygdala's fear response. You might wake up feeling unrested or anxious, simply because the room lacked oxygen exchange. 37. Bed association theory. The problem: you read news, scrolled Instagram, or argued with a partner in bed. The brain now associates the bed with activity. Action: the bed is for sleep and intimacy only. If you are awake and thinking random things for more than 20 minutes, get out of bed. Go to a chair. Mechanism: this breaks the conditioning. You must ruthlessly protect the bed equals sleep neural pathway. If you stay in bed while anxious, you are training your brain to be anxious in bed. 38. The safe space perimeter. The problem: in a new environment, hotel or island. Part of your brain, the left hemisphere, stays online the first night to monitor for threats. This is called the first night effect. Action: lock the door, check the windows, and create a physical sense of security early. Bring a familiar item, pillowcase, scent. Mechanism: familiar sensory inputs dampen the first night effect, allowing the left hemisphere to shut down for deep sleep sooner. 39. Horizontal rest versus vertical rest. The problem: we often try to relax while sitting up. Action: spend time lying completely flat on the ground, floor, or yoga mat during the day, not just for sleep. Mechanism: when the body is horizontal, the heart does not have to pump against gravity. Stroke volume increases, heart rate decreases, and baroreceptors signal the brain that locomotion is not required. This is a mechanical off switch for the sympathetic nervous system. 40. Sensory deprivation, the reset. The problem: the island was likely sensory overload, bright sun, wind, waves, people. Action: use an eye mask and earplugs for 30 minutes in the afternoon. Mechanism: 80% of brain energy is used for sensory processing. Cutting off the inputs, sight or sound, frees up that energy for internal restoration and housekeeping, lymphatic clearance. Phase 5, the philosophy of leisure, the mindset. Here is the uncomfortable truth. You don't know how to relax because your identity is tied to doing. You likely feel guilt or pointlessness when stopping. This is a philosophical error that manifests as physical tension. 41. The productivity trap reframe. The concept: you view relaxation as wasted time. The reframe: view relaxation as recovery metrics. You are not doing nothing. You are optimizing your recovery stats for the next sprint. Action: gamify it. Track your sleep score, or HRV, heart rate variability. Make high-quality rest a goal to be achieved. High performers need a reason to rest. Make performance the reason. 42. Time affluence versus time scarcity. The concept: you felt rushed on the island because you have time scarcity mindset. I only have 5 days. I must relax. Enable. Action: practice time affluence. Walk slower than usual. Eat slower. Tell yourself, I have all the time I need. Mechanism: rushing triggers the sympathetic nervous system. Deliberately slowing down physical movements sends a feedback signal to the brain that there is no emergency. 43. The default mode network, DMN, trap. The concept: when you stop focusing on a task, your brain defaults to the DMN. This is the wandering mind that ruminates on past or future and self-referential thoughts, random things. Action: you cannot just stop the DMN. You must switch to the TPN, task positive network. Engage in a low-stakes task. Build a sandcastle, solve a puzzle, cook a meal. Mechanism: the brain is like a seesaw. When TPN is up, focused on a task, DMN is forced down, quieting the random thoughts. Relaxation for you requires gentle focus, not emptiness. 44. The art of idleness, odium. The concept: the Romans distinguished between odium, leisure time for cultivation, and negotium, business. Action: treat leisure as a skill to be cultivated, not a void to be filled. Read philosophy, listen to complex music, or sketch. Mechanism: engaging the brain in non-utilitarian complexity is deeply restorative because it removes the pressure of outcome or profit. 45. Eliminating shoulds. The concept: I should go to the beach, I should enjoy this sunset. Action: replace should with want. If you don't want to go to the beach, don't. Stay in the room and read. Mechanism: should implies external obligation, which creates resistance and tension. Want implies autonomy, which releases tension. 46. The sabbatical micro-mindset. The concept: a vacation is short, a sabbatical is long. Action: treat the weekend or the trip as a mini sabbatical. The goal is not just to recharge, which implies going back to work to drain again, but to reset your baseline. Mechanism: this shifts the horizon from surviving until Monday to building a sustainable life. 47. Identity separation. The concept: you are likely your job title first, and human second. Action: introduce yourself to strangers on the island without mentioning your job. I am a father. I enjoy surfing. I am a traveler. Mechanism: detaching your ego from your professional output lowers the stakes. If you aren't working, you aren't failing. You are just existing in your other identities. 48. The do-nothing guilt. Acedia. The concept: the ancient monks called the restlessness of the spirit acedia, a refusal to enjoy the present moment. Action: when the urge to do something arises, sit with the discomfort for 5 minutes. Watch the guilt rise and fall like a wave. Do not act on it. Mechanism: this is exposure therapy for boredom. By not reacting to the guilt, you teach your brain that stillness is not dangerous. 49. Hedonic adaptation reset. The concept: we get used to pleasure quickly. The luxury resort becomes normal by day 3. Action: practice voluntary hardship. Take a cold shower, go for a tough hike, or fast for 12 hours. Mechanism: introducing a small stressor breaks the numbness of luxury and makes the subsequent relaxation feel earned and deeper. Contrast effect. 50. Acceptance of the monkey mind. The concept: you were frustrated that you couldn't relax. That frustration was the barrier. Action: accept that the mind produces thoughts like the heart produces beats. Say, my mind is busy today. That is okay. Mechanism: paradoxical intention. By giving up the fight to be quiet, the mind often quiets down. Resistance creates persistence. Phase 6. Advanced recovery protocols. The biohacks. If psychology fails, use biology. These are forceful interventions to hijack the nervous system into a relaxed state. 51. Heat alteration. Sauna or hot bath. Action: spend 20 minutes in a sauna, 175 F+, or a very hot bath. Mechanism: heat stress releases dynorphins, which make you feel slightly uncomfortable, followed by a massive wash of endorphins and a drop in cortisol. It mimics the physiological effects of moderate exercise. It forces the mind to focus on the heat, breaking the rumination loop. 52. Cold water immersion, the vagus jolt. Action: 1 to 3 minutes in ice water, 50 F or lower. Mechanism: this causes a massive release of norepinephrine, focus or mood, and dopamine, pleasure, that lasts for hours. It is impossible to worry about random things when you are in freezing water. It is a hard reset for the brain. 53. Magnesium glycinate or threonate. Action: take 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate or threonate 1 hour before bed. Mechanism: most high performers are magnesium deficient. Stress burns magnesium. Glycinate relaxes muscles. Threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier to relax the mind. This is relaxation fuel. 54. L-theanine, the caffeine antidote. Action: if you drink coffee, take L-theanine, 100 to 200 milligrams with it. Mechanism: found in green tea, L-theanine stimulates alpha brainwaves, associated with relaxed alertness, and blunts the jittery or anxious side effects of caffeine without reducing focus. 55. Apigenin chamomile extract. Action: 50 milligrams of apigenin at night. Mechanism: it binds to the same receptors in the brain as benzodiazepines, Valium or Xanax, but much more mildly and without addiction risk. It helps turn off the racing thoughts. 56. Heart rate variability, HRV resonance breathing. Action: use an app, like Elite HRV or others, to find your resonance frequency breathing rate, usually around 5 to 6 breaths per minute. Breathe at exactly this rate for 10 minutes. Mechanism: this synchronizes your heart rate with your breath, maximizing HRV. High HRV equals high adaptability and relaxation. This is the most scientifically validated way to train your nervous system to be calm. 57. Eye movement desensitization, EMDR light. Action: go for a walk where you move your eyes laterally, side to side, while scanning the horizon. Optic flow. Mechanism: lateral eye movement suppresses the amygdala. This is why walking it off works. The forward motion combined with scanning signals the brain that you are moving through the problem. 58. Fascial release: the physical hold. Action: use a lacrosse ball or foam roller on your glutes, feet, and traps. Mechanism: emotional trauma and stress are often stored in the fascia, connective tissue. Intense myofascial release can sometimes trigger an emotional release, crying or relief, that clears the mental blockage. 59. The cortisol switch: exercise timing. Action: do your intense exercise in the morning. Do only gentle movement, walking or stretching, after 6 p.m. Mechanism: intense exercise spikes cortisol, temporarily. You want this in the morning, to wake up. You do not want this at night when trying to relax. Late-night heavy workouts can destroy sleep quality. 60. Consistency greater than intensity. The final rule: you cannot binge relax on a 5-day vacation after 360 days of stress. Action: you must integrate microdoses of relaxation daily, 5 minutes of breathing, 10 minutes of walking throughout the year. Mechanism: neuroplasticity. If you practice stress 360 days a year, you are an expert at stress. You must practice relaxation daily to become competent at it. The vacation is just the final exam. The daily life is the study. Conclusion and implementation plan. You failed to relax on the island because you treated relaxation as a switch you could flip, rather than a skill you had to learn. Your nervous system was stuck in sympathetic dominance, and the silence of the island only made the internal noise louder. The solution summary: 1. Physiology first. Use breathwork, physiological sigh, cold water, and panoramic vision to manually lower your heart rate. 2. Cognitive control. Use worry scheduling and brain dumping to capture the random thoughts so they don't loop. 3. Environment. Optimize light, sunset simulation, sound, brown noise, and temperature, cool, to support biology. 4. Biohacks. Use heat or cold contrast in supplements, magnesium or theanine, to force a state change when willpower fails. Your immediate next step: don't wait for the next vacation. Tonight, try the physiological sigh, 2 inhales, 1 long exhale, for 90 seconds before bed, and turn off all overhead lights 1 hour before sleep. This will prove to you that you can control your state. Would you like a specific 7-day pre-vacation taper protocol to ensure your next trip starts with relaxation on day 1 instead of day 4?